because of the justice, because we love this place.
안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. 몇 살이세요?
저 19.
저도요. 동갑이네요. 네. 참참참이라는 채널을 운영하고 있는 강참비라고 합니다. 애기랑 같이 육아 브이로그도 하고 있고 다양한 콘텐츠를 하고 있어요.
육아요?
네, 저는 일찍 애기가 생겨가지고 육아 유튜브를 하고 있어요.
몇 살 때인 아기가?
17살 때 아기가 생겼습니다. 고등학교 1학년으로 넘어갈 때쯤에.
남편분도 동갑?
네, 동갑이에요. 그때 임신 소식 알았을 때는 둘이 며칠 정도 됐어요? 200일, 300일, 200일 정도? 되게 빠르게. 지금은 3년 다 돼가고 있어요. 대박.
학교는 그럼
17살 5월, 6월쯤에 자퇴를 했어요. 그래서 고등학교 친구들이랑 추억도 되게 많이 없어요.
그래서 학교 생활이 그립거나 하진 않았어요?
친구들이 막 놀러 가는 거 막 사진 찍고 막 애들은 이쁜 옷 입고 다니고 그게 너무 부러운 거예요. 그래서 그럴 때는 좀 우울하고 학교 다니고 싶고 막 그랬는데 요즘은 학교가 어떤지.
근데 딱 고3 올라오니까 쉬는 시간에 애들이 공부를 해요.
진짜요?
점심시간에 딱 이제 놀고 들어오면 애들이 공부를 하고 있고
뭐 입시, 취업, 이제 사회생활을 해야 되는 거니까 잠깐 두렵기도 하고 무섭기도 하고 오만 가지 생각이 있는 것 같아요.
r/place was an April Fool's joke made by Reddit in 2017. An employee by the name of Wardle created it and went on to make the game Wordle. The idea was simple. You can place one pixel in a giant canvas every 5 minutes. But that's your limit. 1 pixel. No individual could fill this entire canvas and make an art piece, but millions of people collaborating could. And that's what happened. Sort of. Some people were interested in destroying all the art and went by the name of the Void. Some people wanted a corner to be entirely blue. Some people were just part of a community like Osu, the rhythm game, and just wanted their logo imprinted on this memorial forever. At the end, you got an art piece that encapsulated that period of time. It included the memes of the eras and the communities that were thriving then, and then it disappeared, only to be remembered by the final image. r/place never came back until this year, 5 years later. And it was a little bit different than last time. And the reason is me. Hey, what's up? So the big difference between r/place 5 years ago and now is streamers. Streaming has blown up. It's 10 times bigger now than it was 5 years ago. And streamers who were placing their communities and making them create art were bigger than any individual subreddit. You had people like XQC, who was interested in creating mass chaos, or the French streamer Camit0, who had a huge army of hundreds of thousands of people building a giant French flag. But at the end of the day, it was obvious that streamers were going to make r/place a much different experience than ever before. Now, it started out simple. It was the same canvas size as 2017. And the first day, a few funny things happened. Genshin Impact didn't have the greatest time. Some people successfully made their flag and added some really good art to it, and others forgot how the general shape worked. There was even some cool new ideas, because not only the final image is remembered at the end of the experiment, but also the time-lapse. So someone created this cool Minecraft animation. But at the end of the first day, they did something they've never done before. They doubled the size of the canvas. Immediately, new, smaller communities could build art in different corners and inject themselves into the social experiment. That's where I started to find out about r/place. And I built the logo of my podcast, The Yard. Now, I kind of destroyed the French flag to do this, but look, they didn't really have any art on it, and they had Daft Punk above, and I put a French heart to show that, we're on the same side. And then I ended my stream, and they immediately took over. And that kind of told a tale. That streamers' powers went about as far as their uptime. And the moment they hit the end stream button, all their power vanquished. Mizkip was in a war with the brony community for hours, but the moment he ends the stream, the bronies are still there because it's a rotating community of people as opposed to a streamer who's like a general. And the general, once he goes to bed, all his soldiers go to bed as well. But this was just the beginning of r/place because they expanded again. They doubled the canvas again. It was now 4 times as large as the original version in 2017. And immediately, there was a problem. See if you can figure out where the big eyesore is on this map. Yeah, it's the same people I got into a war with the first day, the French. They immediately took all of the bottom left, the largest section anyone had, which was going to create a lot of war. But I'll let the story show itself rather than telling you what happened.
On 5:38 p.m. at April 3rd, 2022, I am declaring a war against the French. Between Spain and America versus the French for the bottom left quadrant. To see who will win.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Attack going out. Everyone going out. Go in. Everyone. All in. All in. All in.
Les gars, je suis la cuillère! Ouais, c'est là pour les Espagnols, je m'en fous des Espagnols!
Holy shit, that white is coming back in.
Oh my god, this is possible.
Now, I wanted to be a part of this experiment, but I didn't want to be like other streamers. Most people try to inject themselves into the art piece to make sure they're remembered. You know, maybe they throw their name in there, their logo, or something that relates to them. But I just wanted to create art, things that I thought were cool. So my first goal was Kirby. Now, as you can see, this Kirby is not bad, but the white background wasn't really doing it for me. So I sent my soldiers in, and we wreaked havoc. We took over with an idea to build Kirby back better than ever. Here is our background image. We are going to overlay Kirby and then add Kirby to this image. Build, build, build. Hands, get going to the hands. The hands, here's the image. Nice. Nice. You're fucking killing it, boys. We went on to make 2 more art pieces. The first of which being from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and the other one being from a couple anime I like, Studio Ghibli and Cowboy Bebop. Now, I made my few pieces of art, and I felt good about it. I don't feel like I need to make any new art. That was enough. But I did start to catch wind of a war. Now, XQC for this entire time has been the villain. You can look through all the Reddit posts and see how many hate threads he got for destroying art and building new art on top. He had a theory that if you destroyed a bunch of small communities, they'd be too small to rebuild. You know what? I'll let him say it better himself.
Dude, I'm not kidding. I've done more threats in an hour than I've done in 6 years combined. I'm not kidding. From changing pixels from a color to another on a corporate website that makes your fucking lights flash on your monitor to a piece of fucking plastic. Okay? Literally. I'm not kidding. Every time we black something out, people take over. People build other shit. Dude, look at the Kobe. People are rebuilding. Guys, there's dozens of new communities that are going in there.
So, yeah, that was XQC. But he has a point. Every time he destroyed art, the art that would replace it was often better. Because there was almost a unwritten rule that on r/place, if something is beautiful enough, if something is well done enough, nobody fucks with it. It was pretty obvious when you look at Goldie Roger. This looked like someone cut out part of a manga and taped it on to the website. It's perfect. So nobody dared to mess with it. You want me to wrap up r/place? Like, as a whole? r/place is an opportunity to have been there. To say I was here, but show the pixel that you made, the art piece that you helped collaborate on. No matter how small your community was or how big it was, you were a part of the overall picture. And 5 years from now, when they do it again, you can point back and be like, oh yeah, I remember this. This was me. I was part of the Giga Chat, the LOL, the Rectal Tribute, the One Piece art, any of the flags that existed. You were a part of that.
Hi everyone, I'm Josh and welcome to Josh Wright Piano TV. Thank you for joining me today. I'd like to go over a concept which we actually have not covered much on this channel, which is metronome use. This video is dedicated to one of our Pro Practice members, Grace, who asked if I could make a video on general tips for using
no future Hydro Archon. In order for Focalor's plan to work, Farina needed to pretend to be the Hydro Archon long enough for the ore trees to collect enough power to kill a god and evade the Heavenly Principle's detection. And she did so dutifully for 500 years, suffering that Traveler witnesses in another realm after accessing Farina's memories through her tears. Neuvillette being the Chief Justice of Fontaine was no accident either. Throughout all the trials he's witnessed as the Chief Justice, Neuvillette developed true empathy and love for the human race. Something that Focalors was counting on him to develop for the sake of Fontaine. With the Hydro Archon sacrificing herself and his full dragon sovereign powers returned, Neuvillette now has the ability to save the people of Fontaine from dissolving. He does so by absolving Fontainians of their sin and turning them into true humans, unable to be dissolved upon contact with the Primordial Sea. With Neuvillette as a fully fledged dragon sovereign, he and Traveler enter the Primordial Sea in order to subdue the all-devouring Narwhal. They're aided by Skirk, Child's Master from the Abyss. We learn some very shocking truths from her which we'll cover in a bit. Due to the battle with the all-devouring Narwhal, the waters above them in Fontaine must have been thrown into chaos. But thanks to Neuvillette declaring the Fontanians true humans and Riesli's boat, which only got like 5 seconds of screen time, Fontaine is saved from the prophecy and the waters quickly recede. Although Fontaine is left with some post-flood cleanup, all's well that ends well, or so it seems. Neuvillette grants Arlecchino with the Hydronosis now having no need for it. Farina abdicates her role as the Hydro Archon and is now able to live life pursuing her own passions. And Charlotte now gets her long-awaited interview with Riesli. Neuvillette bids us farewell as Traveler and Paimon potentially make their way to Natland, the nation of dragons, and warns them that the Fatui Harbinger Capitano should be stirring trouble there. Neuvillette also reveals some pretty startling information, but we'll go over it in a sec. In a nutshell, these are the most important takeaways from Act 5 for now. Focalors, the true Hydro Archon, sacrificed herself to save the people of Fontaine and defy the heavenly principles. Farina was the human counterpart to Focalors and was pretending to be the Hydro Archon in order to trick the heavenly principles into thinking the prophecy would play out as they initially hoped. How is Farina able to live for 500 years if she's only human though? Farina was cursed, just as Arlecchino had detected in the previous Archon quest. For as long as the Hydro Archon's divinity existed, Farina will cease to age. Now it's implied Farina will now live a normal human lifespan from this moment forward. Now let's analyze this Archon quest and go over some of the more impertinent things such as the information we learned from Skirk and Neuvillette. First, I really want to applaud Genshin's music and its composers. Back in the ruins with the ancient prophecy, the music that plays is reminiscent of the Impressionist era. French composer Claude Debussy is often known as the father of Impressionism, which is classified by its smoky and dreamlike sound. As somewhat of a music nerd that's been playing piano for some years now, I instantly recognize the influence since it's one of my favorite time periods in music. Seriously, kudos again, Hoyoverse. We unlock some important lore about Mona. Up until now, it was a popular belief that Mona is Fontanian, but we learned that Mona was born in Mondstadt, where her parents migrated to Dornman Port. She traveled with her master Barbeloth for a while until she settled down in Mondstadt City. Speaking of witches, the Hexen Circle is a coven of witches that conduct airmental explorations and tea parties. Known members include Clee's mother Alice, Albedo's master Reindatir, Mona's master Barbeloth, and N, who we learn is Nicole in the Windbloom's Breath event back in version 3.5. We also learn that there are tiers when it comes to these witches. Mona's last name is Magistus, a title her master gave her which means great. In a show of petty humor, her master Barbeloth changed her own name to Trismegistus to mean thrice as great. According to Mona, there are different degrees of the power of divinity. Mona herself is a talented astrologist who's able to use hydromancy and the stars to determine people's fates, but above her are visionaries, a tier of prophets who are able to decipher world-changing prophecies, abilities beyond Mona's current expertise. Speaking of visionaries, we learn of another visionary besides just the members of the Hexen Circle. Although she's Child's master and mentor, Skirk reveals that she also has a master herself, a mysterious man known as Sirtaloji. Most of us are probably familiar with Albedo's nefarious master, Gold or Reindatir. For a quick recap, she's often credited for having been an antagonistic entity during the Cataclysm, unleashing her abyssal creations into the world. It turns out there are more people like her. Skirk's master the Foul, Sirtaloji, Gold, Reindatir, and a mysterious visionary named Vedrfolnir. Could the visionary Vedrfolnir have been the one to provide Fontaine's famous prophecy? All three of them appear to be in pursuit of perfection. We see a glimpse of this in Gold's work towards her primordial human project, of which Albedo was a perfect result. It's interesting because Gold is referred to as a sinner, and the Hydro Archon's sin was creating humans illegally against the will of the heavenly principles. Is sin somehow related to the creation of life? Playing God, essentially? If so, was the original sinner who spoke through the crystal in the Carabar Archon quest also responsible for creating life? Also, these names are all Norse, so could this imply that Skirk's master and the visionary Vedrfolnir are Conrian? These questions are all becoming speculative in nature, so now we can move on to the theory portion of this video. Skirk also reveals some pretty startling information to Neuvillette during their final interaction in the Primordial Sea. The Gnosis are made from the remains of the third Descender. It's okay if you were like, huh? During this part, cause I can explain. The earliest mention of Descenders dates back all the way last year during the Akasha Pulse's The Call of Flame Rises Archon quest in version 3.2. At the end of the quest, Nahida informs us that Descenders are entities that came from outside of Teyvat. The Fatui is currently aware of 4 Descenders, and Nahida hypothesizes that the first Descender was the Heavenly Principles. Traveler is the 4th Descender. Apparently, the remains of the Descender before Traveler arrived are what the Gnosis are made from. Gnosis allegedly contain the trapped powers of the original 7 Dragon Sovereigns. Could the remains of the 3rd Descender be the vessels that hold these powers? And what's the significance behind them being shaped like chess pieces? If the Gnosis were made from the remains of the 3rd Descender, is Traveler somehow a Gnosis? I don't necessarily think that's the case, but Traveler does bear some similarities to a Gnosis. They are conduits of elemental energy, and their kit, specifically their Hydro Kit, somewhat implies that their power mimics that of the Dragon Sovereign's powers. Speaking of chess, Traveler is essentially a pawn in the grander story of Genshin being told where they can and can't go. Since the Fatui's goal is to collect all the Gnosis, what is the Tsaritsa hoping to achieve? Is she trying to restore power to the Dragon Sovereigns, or is she trying to somehow revive the 3rd Descender? The theme of Natland's Archon quest is Incandescent Ode of Resurrection, according to the Travail trailer. Either she's trying to revive the Pyro Dragon Sovereign, La Senora, or a revived 3rd Descender is just what she needs in her battle against Celestia. But just who could this 3rd Descender be? It's important to note that Traveler's Abyss sibling is not considered a Descender. It seems their fate is being tampered with according to Nahida, since we have concrete evidence from Traveler's own eyes that their sibling did in fact come from outside of Teyvat. But from what we know about Gnosis, they seem to be granted to gods who were victors of the Archon War. meaning this mysterious third descender had to have been someone who up until the Archon War was alive. One possible descender could be the Outlander from the records of Jueyun. This Outlander was said to have fallen in love with a Seelie. Sudden disaster struck after their union and they were ultimately punished. They were separated from each other for eternity and their memories of each other wiped. Although this Outlander could be a descender, we still don't know if they're the second or third descender, and we also don't know what happened to them after this story. I'm personally wondering if the third descender has something to do with the book The Pale Princess and the Six Pygmies. It's one of my favorite books in the entire game since I have a feeling